Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands, and welcome to an SP Reviews where today we're going to be checking out the entirety of an album from an act named I Forget Myself titled Some Err Then Winter. And if we switch over to here we have ourselves the track, or rather the album art on the screen. I'll make it big in a moment, just right here. So apparently this is the 7th album from alternative rock recording artist I Forget Myself, releasing worldwide on all major music platforms August 14th, 2024. So on the day that this comes out, I think this will be like the 11th or something like that. This album will be out a few days later, so if you want to check it out, please do go and follow the links in the description. We're going to listen through this track from start till finish, and we're going to hear what we think. With the first of these being Everything As It Should Be, let's go, let's do it. Make it a bit bigger for you. There we go. Great guitar harmonies there as well. Fantastic entrance there. Okay. Fantastic build there. Ah, no, leading into the hook line there, nice. A little bit of rotary reverb on that as well, I like the oscillation there. Definitely is rock music. I dig it. This was Everything As It Should Be, the first track from I Forget Myself. Now, what are we going to say about this track? I think it's about someone who was wondering whether they could have done things differently with their life, and they're kind of sort of accepting that, you know, even if they did kind of give everything up for a few fleeting moments, like their future, their youth or whatever, you know, they think that everything is as it should be regardless. That's sort of the fates of a line, etc. And just things are as they are. Or maybe, I'm not sure, maybe that's something we are going to sort of like think through throughout this album. It's like more of a sort of like an ideal, but either way, I think that it's an interesting start to proceedings there. Clearly competent across the range of instruments that we have here, a mixture of different guitar, bass, and drum parts there with some interesting sort of fuzzy sort of chord, kind of rock and rolling, kind of almost like kind of bluesy or sort of post elements there. Some interesting lead lines with effects like choruses and reverbs. Not choruses, definitely reverbs and delays there. A little bit of oscillation, rotary stuff going on there as well there, mixing in the bass lines there, lots of different grooves on the drums as well there, and the vocals being the focal point throughout the mix with solid post-production as well. It's a really great start. I think we had an interesting sort of structure to it as well, that we didn't just have like A, B, A, B the entire time. There were varied things here with extensions of parts there to like appreciate the extra work done on those especially like the drum fills and stuff like that were kind of dope as well, with extensions there occasionally. And there were little bits of sassy sort of technical nuance on some of the guitar licks and leads and stuff like that, but nothing trying to overshadow the main story. We've got Osmanthus, track number 2 though.
Drag me down, keep me unknown. When can we break free from the top grip of these blue stains that are different from the early spring? Can we bloom when we
I dig that bass line underneath. Great peppiness for those kicks there as well. Fantastic grooves in the hi-hats as well, eh? That was fascinating. That was Osmanthus, if I'm not mistaken, from, again, I Forget Myself. What I think this track is about specifically, we discuss within it parts of like loneliness and like that are hard and pulling arrows out of things, and like we talk about the seasons as well. Maybe we're kind of lost alone, and it's like a winter that we're going through at the moment. It feels so cold, etc. We're kind of struggling with the position of the situation when we are lonely, and we're looking forward to when things sort of warm up a bit, or maybe when there's more life and nature around us there. We'll kind of sort of cope with our own wounds and everything like that, and kind of look towards the future and try to move on from there. I'm not really sure about all. don't think I got all the words there, but still, I want to sort of talk about the vocal performance there, because I didn't talk about the vocals in the previous one. And I think the guy is a sensational singer. I think that the guy has solid pipes there. The story comes through really well, and we're very confident in our hidden chest voice there. Our technique is great there, and we have a great sense of accessibility to the way that he sings as well there. I think it's very satisfying to hear those words come through, and not only for us to hear them when I do with like a softness and almost like we don't have a lot of harshness at this point there, which works well with a lot of the kind of fuzzy guitar sort of melodies and harmonies there and the effects there, the softness, some of the sweetness coming through with those choruses and harmonic devices there, those effects chains. But it's also the upper kind of vocal effects there. We had like an upper octave kind of thing going near the end of the song there, which was kind of dope as well. A kind of little bit of spice there. It was a great sort of change of adjustment of textures there that made it more interesting to listen to there and made it stand out. Great, again, another shorter track there, 3 minutes away. Great use of that time without any filler. I especially liked a lot of the drum fills there. We were very competent not only with our kick grooves and snare and cymbal patterns, but we also we had some really sick sort of hi-hat riffs and hi-hat chops, and some of the fills and stuff. The snare builds were dope as well, and I think, yeah, again, it's another really tight track. There's a lot to appreciate. But we've got Eureka, track number 3 now. Are we going to the major? Great sub layer on the left, those leads as well. And just the tenacity of those tremolo pick parts is fantastic, dude. All no pick parts on the guitars. Synths? Almost sounds sort of like scientific, doesn't it?
It seems most of us do nothing but talk. Get lost a bit in the clamor of an echo chamber that validates pretentiousness and a flood of narcissism and one-upsmanship, where all my life I've been told that I'm a fail, all the while striving to blaze a trail. Send it hit, I've been jerked by this, the fact that it might be heard. Maybe choose not to give me the time of day. The truth, the beating of my heart, insist I shouldn't ever contemplate giving up. Because while I might love you for exactly who you are, I also understand that there will never be another me. Shining lights, walking slowly toward victory.
That was sensational, because I think that was Eureka, right? Eureka by I Forget Myself. I kind of got the hang of that story near the end there. I think this track is about someone realizing that like all this kind of echo chambers and everything, everyone's sort of all doing this self-gratifying stuff is fine, and we kind of judge each other when we're trying to find connection and everything like that, almost trying to sort of find acceptance from other people. But then we sort of steadily realize that we're trying to blaze our own path forward, and even if people have been saying stuff about us, we just need to focus on ourselves and try and find some sort of sense of worth. And I suppose positivity in that we are enough. Maybe I don't know if I'm kind of like jumping the gun a bit, but I think that's the story that's kind of dope. It works really well with the vocal style. I think there's like a gentleness again with the way the guy sings there. The vocal harmonies we had in some of those parts, double track there on different layers, gave it a sense of almost poignancy. It was kind of pretty sounding, and it worked alongside what the guitars were doing. A lot of those sort of tremolo alternate picked parts there, very melodic in the mid-range there, with different sub-layers on the side there. But again, the tenacity and consistency of the drum kit across the cymbals and kick patterns there, the 16ths were just absolutely they were really tight. With the bass line underneath, I think going at a similar pace, there was just a consistent sense of movement until things came down, and we sort of had that Eureka moment, I suppose. It was nice to have that rapping, by the way, in that later half there. I like, again, that we're continuing to try different vocal styles and sort of explore things. I think that's really dope. We can sing, and it's great that we're being flexible there. The studio recording, mixing and mastering as well, the panning of the instruments, the way that they're sort of like put into the different parts of the frequency spectrum with sub-layers and mains and stuff is cool. It adds a sense of like depth to the track that we might not have otherwise if everything was the same loudness, so that's really cool as well. But ultimately, like these have been 3 really strong tracks there. There's a lot. I like the major shift there. It was nice to have a happier sounding song in amongst some of the other stuff where it was more sort of like metered. It's great to have tonal range across this. But it's an interesting album so far. We've got Season Without Song, track number 4. Accidentally clicked off the page. There we go. Season Without Song.
Starlight like a fast-speeding car, radiation from a massive black hole. A toy car overturns and its occupants survive. Overconfident, not dream, still hanging from your eyelids, replaying its second life. A hermit on the shoulder of the road, replaying a second life. Overconfident.
A little bit of raw on this one, eh? I like it.
The weight of true intransigence unfolds when we allow ourselves to be fooled to the scale. So quick to reveal different perspectives wholesale. A viewpoint correlation and canceling ourselves. Resist impermanence with contentment. The thought is clear. Embrace this moonlight tightly. The shadow of the heart light. Ritual kiss on the profound. I heard your road isn't easy. I know all of this. It's the season without song. The weight of true intransigence.
That was like a kind of an unusual sort of like transition there. We had an extra beat and then moved into it. I'm not sure if I like that or not. I do appreciate everything else though.
When we allow ourselves to be fooled to the scale.
There we go.
So quick to reveal different perspectives wholesale.
Up here.
A viewpoint correlation and canceling ourselves.
Beautiful leads here, man. Great texture to them.
Unfolds when we allow ourselves to be fooled to scale. So quick to refute different perspectives wholesale. A viewpoint correlation and canceling ourselves. The weight of true intransigence.
Great vocal harmonies there as well. And coming down here with the sweet sort of strum and reverbs and everything like that, it's gorgeous. Just how they glitter, man. It sounds like stars, right? Sounds like stars in the sky with those guitars. So this was track number 4, titled Season Without Song. Now, what do I think this is about? I had to quickly remember what intransigence means. Basically, it's a refusal to change your viewpoint. I think it's like about cognitive dissonance and kind of like sunk cost fallacy, where like you stick with like a viewpoint for a certain amount of time until it becomes dangerous, then you continue to stick at it, because what else have you got at that point? It's easier to you'd rather anything but be incorrect, right? So I'm wondering if this track is sort of talking about that. There is a sense of strain and grit and fright of the vocals here that imply that this is something they've personally gone through, their personal experience with other people. It could sort of relate more to the previous track, Eureka, where we talk about the echo chambers and stuff like that and parts of it. You know, I'm wondering if this is like a journey we're going from summer, earth, and winter, like we maybe made some mistakes in the past and we've come out of them near the end. I think it kind of makes sense with the art as well, like you're on this snowy part and you're trying to get across the water to that part, if I'm not misunderstanding. But I think that it's an incredible track in the sense that it really does sort of like allow the singer to do whatever they want. In fact, a lot of this music is like malleable enough for that to be the case. But it's also just so gorgeous and so kind sounding in that respect. Like there are kind of distorted guitars and everything like that with ferocious sort of like rock riffs and stuff like that, power chords. But there's also really beautiful lead parts and picked elements there that kind of glisten and sort of like sparkle around the stereo field there. And some really wonderful leads there that kind of glow and sort of like slink through the ether there, the world that's created instrumentally there, with the bass underneath being very supportive of those root notes and the drums as well, providing a great sense of foundation, everything else as well, whilst providing some really interesting fill and sort of like drum transitions as well. Ultimately, again, the studio production is tight. This 4th track's just the same quality as the previous. Really good stuff so far. But we have Sweetness, track number 5. And again, there's range to it, eh?
Comparison, the thief of joy. Apparently everyone's Helen of Troy. Your life's the best, better than mine. Unknown celebrities giving us a sign. Pandering influence and insight. Render obsolete our fight or flight. Compare significant relief. Comparisons of these. The more things change, the more that they'll stay the same. Stay the same. The more you lose, the more that you play the game. Play the game. We value that which is replaceable. Complaining worth is unattainable. We value those who aren't accountable. Requested to respect the irreconcilable. We value those who are despicable. We value those we used to ridicule. We value those who are unconscionable. Why do we value them?
Why? Good question. Go around the sides of the stereo field as well.
Things change, the more that they'll stay the same. Stay the same. The more you lose, the more that you'll play the game. Play the game. It's an accumulation of simply everything. Everything. The principle of bitterness before sweetness.
The bass line's a lot more active in this one, isn't it? Great solo section there. Like, it's relatively subtle. You know, there's not a lot of like crazy lead playing going on here, but it's just fantastic to allow the guitar, bass, and drums kind of work with one another and allow sort of like a foil or a different aesthetic to what's going on with it. And it's not only that we're just keeping a sense of pace and movement forward, we've also got little kind of lead sort of tappy, kind of like hammer on pull-offy stuff going on with the guitar there, little flickers with a really sort of consistent, intricate drum part going between those cymbals and kicks there. Working with 16s, if I'm not mistaken, there could be even quicker than with some bits there, but also the bass line kind of almost having sort of a solo-ish part there up the fretboard. It's just there's so much going on that little part there that freshens the palette going back into the chorus section. It's really effective. And the filtered vocals are a great foil. No, that's incredible, man. Honestly, that song's really cool. It's probably my favorite so far. I enjoyed Sweetness. And what do I think the track is about? Judging from the lyrics, I think it's about, again, like, why... The main question he's asking is, why do we value people we find despicable? Why are we comparing ourselves to them? Why are we comparing ourselves to others? Why aren't we happy with what we have ourselves? Why is there this constant push to have more, to do more, and sort of, like, conform? I think that that's an interesting thing with human beings as a social species. I think we do have this sort of like, you know, this desire to kind of like not only be like, get with it what everyone else is doing, but also to like kind of, you know, compare ourselves to others. And it does make us miserable. It is a thief of joy. I think that's a sobering kind of thing to discuss, and I'm glad that he did it. It's kind of even made me think about it at this point in time, because I'm guilty of it at points. But I think the story is compelling. The guy's vocals are fantastic. I Forget Myself is great to listen to. I think that there's some really interesting ideas with not only the melodies and harmonies there, there's distinct note choices and phrasings and patterns for the verse and chorus sections and stuff like that. And it's a very conversational kind of approach to this one as well there. We're comfortable going into a head voice there and kind of sinking into the rising to the upper registers, but not in a way where it becomes sort of repellent, sort of like, you know, because sometimes people get too high with their voices and it comes a little bit kind of like, do we need to go up that high? No, not this situation. We're flexible with whatever we come across. It matches. It's an interesting foil and texture to go alongside with some of those sort of clean pick guitar parts there with the again, the consistent 16ths, which are like prevalent throughout a lot of this. There's a sense of real sense of pace, even with the halftime stuff going on with the kick and the slap bass parts there. And really intricate little sort of instrumental middle section there with this like solo stuff from the bass and guitar and such. It was great to listen to. Well textured track, makes the most of the just over 4 minutes it has in here. A bit of a longer track, but that's okay. I enjoyed my time with it, but we have Erudition. Erudition? Phenomenal vocal fry, man.
It seems I'm becoming a
That was hella effective. That was Erudition. I think it's Erudition if I'm not mistaken. Apologies if I am, because I know it's erudite, not erudite. Anyways, moving on from that. I think that this track is about someone, like the first half of this track, it's sort of through composed. The first half, the A section is, why can't I be someone that I'm not? And our voice just gets more and more haggard and we scream and there's lots of harsh vocal textures there as we slowly get more sort of desperate for that. Until we build to the climax where things just kind of get almost a little more sort of like jazzy and emotional and complicated with some of those progressions. And we switch it up for the last part where we're kind of just like accepting we have become a version, like an artist rendition of how we want to feel or something like that, if I'm not mistaken there. So all that desperation and fear and all the... It's incredibly philosophical, actually. I'm starting to think about some stuff I hadn't really sort of thought about from listening to this, and that is awesome. But it's like we're... it's thought-provoking music. And I like, genuinely it is. It's a song where I listen to it and I go, okay, I can understand we're kind of going through this motion, this time, and then we're discussing how we've gotten to this place there. And the vocals, again, we're kind of a bit more sort of like palatable and metered, but I just love the authenticity, how raw that first half is. It's awesome. Just how unfiltered it is. That the screams around our head as well, the stereo field there kind of pounding and moving forward there is just phenomenal stuff, man. It's really awesome. It's a track where, like, I think that the guitar, bass, and drums are purely supposed to be supportive of what the vocals are doing in the focal point, as with a lot of stuff off of this album. But I think it's power chords, and there's like a steady drum groove, and there's some bass stuff going on there, a few sort of bass lines sticking to the root notes. It's like it's there. There was a bit of like a filler or transition bit before between the two sides, but it was a short form piece that was more sort of like a statement or like an illustration of what's going on in our own head versus where we are now and our awareness of it or our newfound awareness of it. I think it was just incredibly effective. We can do for 3 or 4 minute tracks, we can do short form ones, and either way we handle it. It was catchy. There was some interesting lead lines in that as well. It wasn't basic by any means. It was less kind of like instrumentally textured than other parts, but still it was enough to get the point and keep it intriguing. We have Empire now, track number 7.
This room that I'm recording in is seemingly fading away because of preconceived differences. We'll never get along, will we? There seems to be a sense of urgency in every interaction. We can reminisce a few years ago. We had made these problems. We invented. Why do we do this to ourselves? I'm not sure what's come over me lately, but I know you feel it too.
Wonderful lead tone to that guitar, man.
You feel it too. Life is as good as how you feel. I may have forgotten myself, but I remember you.
Great parallel major there. Well done.
Don't tell me you don't feel it too. Questioning everything, accepting nothing. How did
Yeah. We're diverse. Well, what we're doing here that I like is we're repeating some of the lines and lyrically that are similar, but we're putting them in different parts of the frequency speak stereo field. We're spreading them around, we're interpreting them different ways, and when you do that, it works. Your empire is in decline, life is not a straight line. So we're using a bass pick, aren't we? I'm pretty sure we're using a bass pick there. That's cool. That kind of stuff is what I really enjoy. Like, the instrumental performance is so tight across these tracks that it almost makes me wonder, like, how do you get these parts this tight? They can just really play their instruments. They can really play their instruments. I'm really impressed. Erudition. No, this is Empire, sorry. This is Empire. So, what do I think Empire is about? I'm not entirely sure specifically Empire, but the track itself, I think, is about someone who is just understanding that life is how you view it. You know, there's an interesting parallel major resonance in that chorus section at that point when they say it's suggesting that even with all the darkness and the low end kind of stuff, there's like a light or things can improve, which is kind of cool. I appreciate that the message we got here, that life is how you view it. It isn't just a straight line. It isn't just this all the time. You got to kind of swing with it and just trying to be along for the ride, was trying to take as much control as you can without trying to take too much or trying to control what you can't. That sort of self-awareness there, that learning there that we're going throughout this album, I think it is like a progression as we go through, and I really appreciate that. I like when there's kind of a connection between tracks like that. The vocals here are fantastic. They're gentle. There's like bits of fry or like a bit of kind of angst occasionally, but like it's very palatable and accessible there. We aren't trying to sort of front too much. There's some vulnerability shown, but in a way that makes sense for the music and allows for some of the more kind of heavy elements, like some of those kick and snare patterns there, some of the down-tuned kind of guitar parts there to come through really sweetly. Ultimately, there's a great balance of textures in this track in both the frequency spectrum and the stereo field there. Different vocal styles and other sides there. Lots of interesting stuff floating around the headphones there. Again, like lots of sort of like cool stuff going on with the guitar, bass, and drums with their riffs and various chops and such. Like a lot of this album there. Like a lot of effort has been put into making this compelling. There is dynamic range, things aren't the same loudness all the time. And again, I just think there were certain parts of it, like the parallel major and the chorus, that just kind of continued to push the envelope forward and kind of try new things. And it was great. I like it. There's been a lot of thought put into this. The album is probably going to be quite a positive conclusion to this, but we've got Not Yet Broken, track number 8. I love those long tails on those reverbs and delays on the guitar, so they're beautiful, man. And swing. Great movement there at the end. It's commercial grade, man. And like that little radio filter was dope too.
is never binding. Our past is never binding. Blooming flowers of the sea of light. Changes in the world are the natural constant answer. This is what I have been holding on to, a place where my heart is not yet broken. The natural constant answer.
We're just letting it fade out. Is there anything at the end? It's just quiet. Okay. Honestly, like at that point, a lot of this track for me, Not Yet Broken, I get the impression that the track is about someone who is trying to push through a lot of the stuff that's spoken about in previous tracks there, trying to sort of like go with the idea that life isn't a straight line and everything like that. And then trying to sort of hold on to a place where they can sort of still be themselves, still feel safe, still feel okay, not feel broken. Like we're desperate to kind of find a place of solitude and safety where even if like things are tough, we can still know we're going to be okay. That's the kind of vibe I got from the vocals, what I heard of them. I thought that going into that head voice, that falsetto was really sweet. I enjoyed the sound of that because it's like got a sense of like relative innocence combined with like, it's just so gentle. We're trying to be gentle with ourselves there. And even there's some sort of harder elements from like the distorted guitars and the bass and stuff like that, with a great sort of sense of swing and pace to it. I love the swing grooves on the cymbal patterns with the drum kit and the bum 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 and the really groovy bass line as well there. We weren't afraid to explore the fretboard a little bit with that one. Again, wonderful sort of like Strymon-esque kind of like reverb delays going on with the guitar parts as well. Beautiful tone to those. Just a lot of really fun stuff to appreciate about this track in particular. Sounds texturally consistent with the rest of the songs on the album there. You can hear it's connected. You can tell they're part of the same mix. It's a really good album. It's a really solid album. I would actually probably listen to this in my own time. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like, no cap, I would do that. I think no cap is the one where you're telling the truth, right? I feel like such a boomer sometimes. But either way, no, fantastic song. It's cool. I enjoyed my time with it. Well done to I Forget Myself for their work so far. I really hope they find success with this. Studio recording quality as well. Production is tight. And yeah, another tight vocal performance as well across the board. It's not as it should. And also, yeah, just phenomenal drum drops as well as some really interesting lead lines on the guitars. They're great sort of sequencing transfers between movements. Track number 9, though, it's not as it should be. Interesting intro here. Great pace with the kit though, man. Okay, so like initially at the start, we had that kind of frenetic sounding lead line on the guitar, and I wasn't sure if I was a massive fan with it, but if we're going to include it as like a constant or like an inclusion throughout the mix, that makes more sense to me. If that's like more of a kind of an idea or like a tone where motif repeating, that's fine. Is that a distorted bass?
Everything is not as it should be as we begin to live the life.
I like the rhythmic phrasing of this part. Awesome. Great song. I really enjoyed myself with It's Not As It Should Be. I get the impression with this that this is a response to everything as it should be. Yeah, so I'm thinking maybe these beliefs and view sets that we've had, we discussed earlier on, we've realized through our journey that maybe things aren't meant to be that way, and we're kind of questioning those things and sort of proceeding further. And there's like mentions of like that we like as we go along, we can't just cope with everything, and it just taking everything on doesn't necessarily make us stronger and all that kind of stuff. In the sense that like we can't just continually like just put more and more on ourselves and expect to hold it. We have to like allow ourselves time to sort of like we have to show some kindness to ourselves and allow ourselves to either to adapt at our own pace and not try to sort of push it or try to do anything outside the extent of that. I'm going to think about this more, but like I think either way, my take on this is it's nice sort of callback to the start of the album there, the vocal performance again with some interesting sort of head notes, sort of like head voice harmonies there. Very sort of interesting sort of use of filtering with some of the vocal parts as well there in the early stages there. Very, again, that kind of like sort of chest voice there, very comfortable with those melodies going between the verse and choruses. Voicing ourselves neatly over top of the really quick sort of double time or normal time sort of like galloping kind of like drum parts there with the interesting sort of like intense guitar parts with the strums and the bass kind of following along there. A really frenetic sort of like really fast lead guitar part that's instantiated at the start there. It's melodic there. You kind of get a hint of it. It's like, okay, what is the context for this? Moving later onto the track, we have like the incredible, so like, is it a legato? Or I think it actually picked there, but it's like softened by some of the effects on the chain there, with the backing chants going, those parts there. It was just interesting to allow that you almost got used to the different triads or arpeggios that they're doing there, to then sort of switch to tremolo pick and going up the octave occasionally. It was just at that point where you might want something different there. So I think that the lead solo phrasing was tight there. It was interesting, it was well structured, and yeah, it's a solid song. It's a solid song. All of these are pretty tight. It's just nice again to get that callback to the start there. But yeah, there's no filler in any of these. We've got End of All though, track number 10. It's a bit of a long one, that's fine. What are we going to do with that real estate? It's amazing what we've been able to accomplish with guitar, bass, drums, and vocals throughout this. Interesting statement there. Again, just the authenticity of the vocal performance with that expression, that sheer sort of furor there. Like, you already kind of get what the song's about from the vocals and the story being told there, but he's really selling it on the mic there. Excellent. Yeah. It does kind of tie the album together at this point, doesn't it? Again, those reverbs are like those tails on those chorus parts are beautiful, man. It's an awesome track. I really enjoyed my time with this one, End of All. It was a nice long form piece there with no filler in it. I know there was a gap where there was just mostly instruments without sort of more storytelling there, but I feel like we kind of earned that break there just to have a bit of respite to sort of think about it, maybe to appreciate the dawn of this new season of spring, 10,000 years of spring. I think it was well earned. This track there, it's about someone. I think the previous track, It's Not As It Should Be, is discussing how actually, our viewpoints and perspectives and stuff previously were not healthy. They weren't good. They were putting us in this space there. We needed to get out of it. And so we've moved into this track where we can kind of see the fact that things are going to improve and we can enjoy that. We might not have caused the stuff that we felt. We might not have caused the issues that we're experiencing directly, but we still have, we have to consciously try and move towards sort of like a different angle to try and embrace the change in a way where we can sort of like make the most of it. The things are going to improve. I think it's the end of the winter going into the spring. I think it's a beautiful concept though. I like the fact, or maybe even everything as it should be, is like where things were good and then things went wrong and then suddenly we've realized it's not as it should be. So maybe we were in summer and then winter was when things got dark and then going into spring was when things improved. I'm not quite sure, but End of All, wonderful vocal melodies and harmonies there. Lots of like some occasional again falsetto parts there, kind of raw sounding there, almost like you can hear the person going through what they're singing about. It's very meaningful to them. Beautiful soaring lead lines on the guitars there with some sort of more grounding guitar and bass parts there with some interesting sort of triplet parts there. We're showing some double kick as well in some of these grooves there, which are kind of dope there, but it's also nice to allow for space to not have those sort of intense scrum grooves and parts where things are a bit quieter there, allowing sort of more of a kind of an openness there to, there's a lot of positives. Theme-wise, there was a general sort of like openness and hope for the future there that was enhanced by the glow of some of the upper guitar effects there, the grounding sort of establishing a foundation with the lower basses, and things just kept moving forward. Great sense of pace there, but we have Consequences, track number 11, the last for today. Or have I misunderstood this?
Hands remain poised to violence, but the heart and mind cannot harm in kind.
Interesting vocal modulation with those kind of lower octave parts.
Across your face like an ultimatum from a new day. From a new day.
Where are we going with this though? Because this sounds like we're going down the path. This is a bit more progressive than some of the other stuff we listened to, eh? Great parallel major there.
We are all the same. We are all the same. Are we all the same?
Interesting, also like kind of tribal kind of tom feels here, man. And the growls are pretty dope as well, man. Great processing on those. Don't know how I feel about that one being the last track. It kind of was kind of ominous. It's kind of like the end of a horror movie where you feel like you've kind of killed the bad monster, and then suddenly there's a reckoning occurring. Maybe that's like gonna be the next album that we put out. I'm not sure. But that was Consequences from I Forget Myself off of the Some Err Then Winter album. What do I think it's about? I think it's about some of the stuff we're trying to get past to kind of work towards the spring. It's the 10,000 sort of days of it or whatever. We haven't quite maybe, so there's still going to be some things that come back from that. We're going to have to deal with things as we move along there. There's a lot of anger and aggression in the vocal style there, from like the kind of growled or kind of lower octave voices there and the kind of shrieks and stuff we have later on there. A really kind of feral sounding guitar riff earlier on. There was lots of dissonance and sort of uncomfortable sort of edges to those harmonies and such, but ultimately getting something a bit more sort of like palatable and more metered alongside the rest of the album. But you do get the impression that there are some things underneath the surface that haven't quite been snuffed out by the change in season yet. Like as if it's not like pretending that things instantly get better the moment you try and be more positive, or the moment you try and embrace that change, like that things aren't just magical, that it doesn't just change overnight. I kind of adore the fact that we're being a bit more sort of like real about that, if that's the case there. I liked the drum patterns we had in this, including the tom patterns we had near the end there. I liked the fact that we were comfortable with the 16th and 32nds. As per a lot of the rest of this, we were more supportive and kind of sort of pocketing in that midsection there. Some of the parts quite intricate, working alongside the steady sort of like chugging, progressing of the guitar parts. There were some interesting sort of like interesting lead elements and components, just notes just hanging there. We had some heaviness with some of the lower string stuff there, and the bass line being sort of supportive of those root notes. But it was an interesting sort of almost through composed piece with various sections, kind of like Erudition if I'm not mistaken there, but obviously long form at 5 minutes. Everything with all the boxes are ticked. We're going to talk about this album more in the conclusion, but I just want to say, if you're wondering how I feel about this, it's predominantly it's positive. It's going to be a positive review. Because welcome to the analysis and conclusion section of my review of this album from an act name I Forget Myself, titled Some Err Then Winter. What do I think this is about? I think this is someone that is initially in kind of a dark place. I kind of think they've got everything together, and then suddenly they are presented with the things into their life that come in and bring them maybe to a dark place. Maybe they were in a dark place, or they go into it, where they're kind of stuck in kind of sort of chambers and stuff like that, where there's a lot of people who think they're smarter than others. You get some sort of like you get involved with some bad people, with some bad situations, and this album is like the progression of coming out of that bad place, wherever you are. It's coming to terms with who you are, finding your way towards the light, realizing that things can be a lot better, understanding that things don't magically change, and that you have to take responsibility for some things, and that things, but also that things aren't as they should be, and that fate can be changed out depending on your actions, or determined based on your actions to the extent of what you yourself can control. But also understanding in the final track that there are consequences for what you've done, regardless of whether or not you try and be a better person. You have to live with those thoughts, and you hear those demons growling and shrieking around. I think that's the message of the album. I could be wrong, but hopefully I'm not far off. I think that this track was really well written, and the story of it makes sense. I'm glad that it was cohesive and sort of easy to follow throughout. Even if there were some twists and turns, I think it just makes it a little more exciting. The vocals from the singer here are tremendous there. Great head, chest voice, some sort of rock kind of rapped, some sort of metal kind of rapped parts there. Comfortable in their falsetto. We had some growls and shrieks near the end there. Some lots of different vocal styles here, done in a way where they all were relevant and appropriate to the situation there. So our technique was tight. Countless interesting melody and harmonic ideas here. They worked within the alt rock genre, but they could work for a lot of different rock and metal. And the guy's clearly got a sense of it's versatile as a singer, and I think that they could basically handle whatever they wanted there. They've got the softness, the vulnerability there. They can do the harder stuff with the vocal fry and all that kind of stuff. They could do some growly, kind of shrieky, kind of metal stuff as well. They got it handled, man. They got it sorted. And it sounded like with every single track, it sounded like they genuinely cared about what they were singing about, and that authenticity there with the little inflections and little bits of dry processing. Sometimes things are a bit more sort of raw. There's like radio filtering of some parts. There's sub-layering as well. They're clearly aware of how they want to interact with the audience, and they absolutely smash it. The tracks themselves is 11 within this album, and each of them is an absolute banger. There was not a weak song within this. There were some 2-minute tracks like Erudition, if I'm not mistaken, going all the way up to 5-minute songs like Consequences. Each song had its own personality as per the mini conclusions I added per each track. They were either through composed, like they had one section kind of split to the other side, or there were verses and choruses. There were some lead sections occasionally there. But ultimately, it was meant sort of like custom purpose towards the story they wanted to tell. Maybe there were some splits to it, a journey track throughout, or we're sort of oscillating around a main theme that we wanted to discuss with variations to the way we approach it. I think that the transitions between sections were great there. Sometimes we typically had sort of rounded verse and chorus sections with like instrumental parts that were long enough to be able to appreciate things. Some tracks had dedicated solo sections. Others had sort of instrumental breaks there. Some just allowed things to be kind of chill and kind of like inquisitive for the first 30 seconds. Other times we came in with the vocals at a quicker pace there to vary things. But like ultimately there were sometimes we even had like extra lengths of bars or sort of drum fills or something like that, or there was like one bar taken away to kind of come into a section a bit earlier, or like a beat added sometimes to kind of sort of switch things up a little bit. It was very dependent on what was intended, but ultimately there was variety there structurally, and it was very captivating in part because of that. The main instruments within this album were guitar, bass, and drums. The drum parts were absolutely insane. So much diversity, so many different chops and grooves there. Comfortable in halftime, normal, and double. Great control of the cymbal ride grooves, working with bells and stuff like that. Closed open hi-hats, dirty hi-hats, as well as the crashing with the other ones. Phenomenal kick technique, mixture of sort of like swing and normal time with the single and double kicks. Very comfortable with our tom patterns as well there. We're very comfortable just having parts where we sort of centered around the sort of high, low, and mid toms there. And yeah, we had a great sense of pace throughout. Nice to be a dynamic range there. We knew when not to have drums and when to have drums, and it was very effective and suited the mood of the tracks well. I like the fact that with the bass guitar, I wasn't just sticking with the root notes the entire time. We did have variation with the note choices. We explored the fretboard occasionally. Sometimes we even had sort of like bass solo-ish kind of bits there where we went up the fretboard, which was kind of dope there. But ultimately, it was more of a situation where we tried to be supportive, keep those root notes going strong. We knew when to sort of extend and when to pocket, much like the drums, and I appreciate that awareness there. The vocals were entrancing enough, as well as the guitar parts, which we'll talk about in a moment, for the bass to be able to do both. There was enough space there, I think. It was effective. There was even some sort of like distorted bass occasionally, which added a sense of filthy kind of heaviness to it, which was kind of slick. The guitar parts were tremendous. I liked the mixture of the kind of distorted kind of rhythm part guitar parts there, working with chords there, where the power chords and maybe some sort of major or minor chords, but they didn't sort of like a lot of the color was in the mid to high range because of the leads. There we had sort of distorted leads with interesting tremolo parts there, some legato arpeggiated stuff and some solo sections, some sort of bendy kind of twisty stuff, some intricate stuff going on with some of the leads. But it was often these sort of like reverb chorus delay kind of really gloriously processed and handled like cleanish guitar takes there, which were kind of really pretty sounding. We did have occasional just clean sort of raw sort of like picked guitar tones, but there was so many sparkly little guitar parts that were sort of either accenting some of the extensions and maybe ninths in some of these chords, or ultimately just providing sort of more of a synth-esque kind of pad ground bed for the rest to sort of like, or sort of ambience for things to sort of reside in there. There was a sense of magic around it and awe and wonder that I really appreciate. And there's certain effects like the Strymon, if I'm not mistaken. There's also like plugins. Like I think there's this plugin from Tim Henson through like Neural DSP that has these really beautiful sounds to it as well that kind of are familiar with this. It's great sort of addition of that. I think just the combination of these different instruments what they played combined with themes that were compelling and did match quite well with the instrumental parts, that the lyrics and the storytelling that we had there. There was a unique identity for each of the tracks with a separate verse, chorus, and progressions. We didn't just have the same chord progressions and bass lines for each part of the song. We had variation there, which was kind of cool. But it was also, the themes were per track as well, but the overall sound of it was kind of mistiness there from the guitars with a sense of beauty of the light coming through occasionally with the lead guitars. The rhythm guitars being heavy and kind of like fragrant whilst also having a bit of edge to them occasionally when it needed to be a little bit of spice to it. But we had a great sense of pace there, and typically we had a great mixture of working with the flow, the various flows of the drum parts, with the rounding of the bass there going up in the range when it needed to and where there was space. We explored well with the instruments, incredibly tight instrumental performance without a note out of place, and again the motifs typically matched what was going on with the vocals and lyrics. The studio recording, mixing and mastering was absolutely tremendous. I really appreciated the clarity of the different vocal takes, all the different sort of like mid-low, all the ways we put the vocals forward were handled really well. Mains and sub layers, as well as the guitar layers. There were lots of different guitar layers that were niched well on the frequency spectrum in the stereo field, as well as in main sub levels. Sometimes they're quieter on the sides, other times they came on this, and then on the other side there, the great exploration of the left and right sides there. Bass and drums well niched into it as well. The music surrounded you in the headphones. There was dynamic range to this. Things were not the same loudness all the time. And it was nice and loud without pumping, so the bus compression and limiting was handled. So thank you very much. All right, and the guy could clearly sing. There was no need for the guy could sing. He didn't need to sort of like polish and and the guy could just clearly sing. There was some wonderfully recorded vocal takes as well. So thank you for watching my review of this album from an act named Some Err, then Winter, from an act named I Forget Myself, and hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go show them some love via their various social medias and a SoundCloud page, and stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they need the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I will catch you in the next review. Spiderhands out.